dearest WeVoice community. I'm Natalie, Chief Scientific and Strategy Officer at WeVoice, and you guys already know what we're doing here, having the interviews with the most incredible individuals who are creating magic behind the stage with our super powerful coaches in all sorts of different therapies, NLP, RPT, Theta healing, voice transformation. And today there is no bigger pleasure than introduce you Maeve Höglund, who is a transformational voice coach, an opera singer, entrepreneur, warrior queen, and you totally see that she's a sound healer through medicinal songs, through medicinal melodies, through all her power guided by inner compass. And I really love, Maeve, how you call it a divine voice, this inner compass. And this one certainly allows people to navigate through life with a sense of ease. Just build in the flow, the relationship, business, navigate through life with confidence, comfort, ease, and certainty. And Maeve, hello, my dearest soul, and I'm super happy to host you here.
I'm so glad to be here, Natalia.
Maeve, to jump right in the interview, tell please your story to our voice community, your story as a human being and your story as a coach, and what are the therapies that you are using to transform humanity.
Well, first of all, it's so awesome to be here, and it's so wonderful to be collaborating with a community that I know is like-minded in our missions to not only bring a certain amount of ease and connectedness with each other, but to also find our own inner guidance and soul's path in whichever form that takes for each person. And that's really where the journey started for me. Was I knew early on as a young child that there was a mission that my soul had, kind of like a soul directive or a divine assignment. And it was kind of my job to find out what that meant or what it was. And through that discovery process, I was always attracted to singing. I was always attracted to emoting and voicing and speaking and creating characters and expressing myself through the form of the voice. And as time went on and I began to develop and research and study a variety of cultures, languages, music styles, and genres, and came upon classical music, it was then that I began to like unlock these deeper, more mystical elements that sound has around the world and how classical music came from those traditions. And I began to see that everything was connected, everything had a history, everything had a lineage. And as I inquired not only in my musical studies, I began to inquire in my own life, in my own family, lineage, and history, and as well as that of human nature and humans history, and how we had, also shared common not only paths, but we'd also shared equal struggles and conflicts and, emotional, navigational experiences that actually connected us. Whereas I had mainly been shown as a young adult that we were very much different, that we had these big walls in between not only our societies, but our personalities. And I began to really inquire, was that true? Was that true? Was I here to expect and assume that someone who I've never met before, who's across the world, is so different than me? And it was in that process that I began to exercise my own ability to start challenging things that had been said to me, start challenging thoughts that I'd had. I started asking way more questions. I began to ask inside myself, is that really true? And do I have enough information to have that conclusion about that person, that culture, that story, right? And it was in that process that I really uncovered my divine voice, my intuitive, empathic direction that told me otherwise. And that led me to all sorts of amazing things. It led me to traveling all over the world, to singing on stages that had thousands of people in the audience right at my fingertips. And it began to uncover kind of the mysticism and the magic of how we're actually connected on a way higher level. And it doesn't matter where we come from. It doesn't matter our upbringing or our differences or even our varied backgrounds, that we actually can be connected by our common denominator, which is our souls and our voices and our essences for, being on this planet.
What you just said resonates so much with my concepts as well. That we have this global coherence and all souls speak the same language, that unique language of soul. And the more we're having now scientific techniques and measurements for that, the more we can prove that. And
Yeah.
Maeve, thank you for unpacking all that, all your magic, your journey. Could you please also comment for how long have you been on this journey as a coach? When you took full, ownership of that process and you became a coach?
Yeah. So I became officially a coach 4 years ago. I started my business about 5, and then I launched officially Divine Voice Transformation 4 years ago. And I like to think that really the journey began before that, because so many times prior to that moment, had I been a sounding board for so many different people, had I been, a reflective mirror for those who were seeking clarity, seeking confidence, seeking more understanding and more concrete ideas about what their journey was supposed to be and how it was supposed to be expressed on this planet. And, as a friend and a colleague and a like-minded soul, I helped people. And it wasn't until I realized that there needed to be more access, more of a platform for people to understand that they can also too be on this journey and do it in a way in which they have guidance, was where I was really called to step into, a mentorship, a coach, spirit guide role. And so that's really, for me, it was another fold in the unraveling fabric of, my soul's path.
This is so beautiful to find the calling, to feel it, and give it a juice, give it a passion, and keep unfolding, keep unpacking people who facing the same patterns. I love to call it this way. And Maeve, why do you think now so many people are overwhelmed and feeling this level of stress and anxiety in the world, and how your coaching techniques can also help with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I really believe that most energies that come in the level of anxiety or manifest themselves in a way of high stress or overriding nervous system overwhelm comes from not knowing, or the idea of not knowing. And when people have a sense that they're lost, that they don't have an idea of where their anchors are in life, they don't feel like they have a sense of direction. It's almost like being launched into the ocean and having no sails. You're just wandering in this vast ocean of waves and having really no idea as to what your purpose is in terms of where you're going, and also what you're supposed to be doing in the process. So you're just kind of floating. And to me, I truly believe, as a human DNA, it's wired into us, is to truly live in a particular purpose and direction or directive. And if one is not tapped into what that might look like, the system begins to kind of like put off all alarms, whether it's like anxiety alarm or depression alarm or, um, you know, uh, frustration alarm or anger or whatever way in which it manifests to get our attention, is the way in which we are actually being called to be quiet, to dive in deeper, to listen. And to me, those are just indicators of something that's not being listened to, something that's not being heeded. And so it causes this deep amount of angst inside not only our bodies, but certainly inside our minds. And so I have found for myself that when those messages are not listened to, that is then when our systems find ways to get our attention. Whether that is in a state where it's very uncomfortable, or there is a place where there's very little light and very little hope. And I don't believe we're here to be in the shadows. We are truly here to be in full radiance of all expressions of, light and color and sound, and, the vast landscape that we have to access to here.
I think you just unpacked the treasury of wisdom, and I really love the way you named it, that these are just alarms, these signals are just alarms. Hey, just pay attention, indeed, pay your attention to make sure you're on the right track. And if no, you always have the possibility to find your way. And this brings me to the question of your therapies, how your therapies may help for the people to find this clarity in life through all this huge set of mastery that you're offering.
Yeah. So for those who have never actually explored sound healing or sound therapy or sound tuning, as some people call it, it is, in essence, a lot of the work that I've done as an opera singer and professional performer of really having a relationship and a dialogue with your own voice. And what that requires of someone is practice, time, and, an intimate relationship with your body and your kind of inner state. And so the one thing that's missing for most people is stillness. And to be in the practice of music, or certainly being in the practice of being a classical musician, there is a lot of stillness. And I don't mean that in terms of lack of sound or lack of movement or lack of activity, but there is stillness in the, constant and continuous practice of a particular skill, of a particular discipline, of a particular technique that requires patience, intention, and time. And so where I really guide most of my clients, some of them already have a lot of these skills, and so we tweak in different areas, but most of my clients struggle with giving themselves stillness and a time to become more in resonance with their desired state. And how one can really achieve that is by calming the nervous system. And one of the great techniques in which we can do that is through singing, is through sounding, is through, even listening to different aspects of music out in the world that are here in our natural world, that are here either in the birds, in the trees, or the wind, or even observing, if we live in a city, the various landscapes of sound that are constantly coming into our ears and how that's affecting us. And so then when we're in the place where we can be quiet and still and begin to observe and listen, that is when the kind of soul voice, or the soul song, I like to call it, can come in and be heard. If there's a lot of other chatter and noise and distractions, it's really, really hard to tune in to what it is that's actually being looked to be heard inside of our bodies. So I use a combination of, sound healing, sound therapy. I call it sound guidance. I take people on soul sound journeys in order for them to actually get in touch with that part of themselves, so then they can have more visions that come through to them through a dream, through a meditation, through just a breath, through a memory, through something that comes through and is actually, again, the divine voice, what you already named, is truly the underlying directive that's leading us day in and day out. And it's not through busyness that we can do that. It's through stillness and pausing and really giving ourselves the space and the quiet container through which we can actually hear them.
That's right, like slowing down really to the speed of life, where things are happening without any extra force, where you are the one who is sitting on the driver's seat and driving your life towards the towards the destination of a North Star. And Maeve, if you were to unpack a little bit more about your sessions, how long does your session usually take? Whether it's a sound healing session, whether it's a voice transformational journey, and either possible online, does it have the same effect as offline? And how fast can you see the results?
Beautiful. So, just like any natural way or remedy, it really depends on who is encountering my field in terms of the treatment. So, I never treat everyone the same. I always look to assess and treat somebody from where they are and what it is that they really need. So in any session that I do a very large intake. It's almost like a 3-page questionnaire, really digging into people's backgrounds and what's influenced them, affect them, built them to where they are currently, and particularly what the areas are that they're really looking to address, so I can know best what it is that they're actually looking to remedy. And so no session is quite the same. However, that being said, I do phase my sessions, which are anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes, with a combination of two more of a talking inquiry, conversational dialogue around where it is their state of being, because I find that when people are highly agitated or highly in a state of kind of like overriding nervous system kind of panic, it's important to get their system just to calm down and ease and get them back into their body. I never find that it's useful to go straight into any sort of healing energy work until we have a sense of groundedness and connectivity. And a lot of the times people just need to get clarity on certain things that we've worked on so they know what the next steps are. Because a lot of times the people that I'm working with they're making radical shifts in their life, right? They're leaving jobs, they're moving, they're getting into relationships, they're creating abundance in their life, which they didn't think possible. They're, investing in different aspects of their health or their finances. And so it's really important for me to be on par with where they're looking to arrive to, whether in throughout our work or on the journey through our work. Then with the sound healing and the energy work that I then tie into my sessions, what that really does is integrate a lot of what we've spoken about. So it's integrated pieces of what they are looking to embody or what they're looking to move into, and allowing for that to begin to integrate into their actual physical space. And so with the sound journeys, what we do is it's either collaborative or it can be actually just full receiving. I intentionally use my voice, I use my bells, my drums, my flutes as a way in which to move certain energy blockages that are there, that can also be reverberated and in syncopation and more in tuning with the sounds of where their body is looking to arrive to. And that has strictly to do with where it's in the body. And because I'm empathic, I can feel when I do the scan of their body to feel where it's needed most. And believe it or not, it's usually in the solar plexus. Many people hold many different energy centers there, as well as the throat. So those are usually tend to be the two areas in which I work on the most. And given that I am a singer and that I use my voice, I can allow for the penetrating tones really to move a lot of that stuck energy, and also just reverberating. If you think of it like sometimes when there's cobwebs and you walk into cobwebs, like it just gets stuck to you. And so when you're in that web, you just have to kind of slowly kind of just pull it off and out and wash it. And that's kind of, that's not kind of, that is what, sound healing can do. It just kind of washes off these things in conjunction with whoever I'm partnering with my clients. They are also a part of the process, because I find that it is essential for them to have the tools to walk away, to also apply the techniques I use in their day to day and moving forward, because that's essentially what I feel is important as we walk on this path of self-discovery and moving into an ascended state, is to gather the tools so we can move forward, um, and be in a place where we can also pass that on to the next human that needs it.
That's right. That's right. And I really tremendously admire your super personalized approach, where you really meet a person where they are, exactly where they are, and take them exactly according to the intention they have for themselves, and that
Yeah.
you help to unpack this intention.
Mhm.
And diving deeper, are there any side effects for the therapy that you use?
Mm, that's a really good question. I would say, to me, the only side effects that can happen are dreams, really intense dreams. I've definitely had clients that when you move energy, it's almost like if you've ever been on a cleanse, or if you have even had a really, really intense workout and your muscles are really, really sore, you're feeling really, really exhausted and super, almost drained in a sense. That people get these feelings of just a bit of exhaustion and deep insight, and that is really based around the principle that when you move certain things in the body and reorganize them so things are flowing, it's like you've removed a dam from a river that is just busting through. And that can take a lot of energy. And so in the following days or weeks after the sessions, people can just feel massive amounts of integration, but feeling a little bit of the exhaustion, and also having lots and lots of visions, because again, you've removed blockages, you've removed energies inside the body that have just been holding uh, like a tight rope on a hose, or like a tight grip on a hose, the really powerful flow that has been wanting to come forward for probably a long, long time. So those are not very intense side effects, but um, a lot of emotion definitely also comes forward for many people, and gratefully, many of the clients that I've worked that I've gone through really deep emotions have been so brave and courageous to understand that it's just like a storm. When you're opening up aspects of all parts of your body, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, metaphysically, that you are then unlocking a lot of things that have been held kind of at bay for quite some time. So allowing and honoring each emotion and feeling that arises is something I really hold very, very powerful value around, because essentially that's where we need to be more, in our emotions and our bodies, and feeling and being able to voice and emote our sense of what it is that we feel like we need to express and bring.
Absolutely. Unplug to let it fully go in the flow that doesn't create any tension, that doesn't create any um, resistance, but just flow
Mm.
tremendously. And actually, coming back to the previous question where you were answering on how people can really feel the blockage here on the voice chakra and right on the solar plexus area.
Yeah.
So this is, I may imagine, something that was unspoken for them, that they holding here, and maybe the area of solar plexus. I know when people work in the um, body psychology, they experience how the chains break in the area of the diaphragm. So certainly when we misalign, when we misalign in our breath work,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the huge tension is concentrated. Yeah, the voice chakra and this solar plexus area.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really important to remember is are these two elements are our emotional channel. That's it's called, there's a line there, and I'm probably not going to quote it correctly, but I believe it's either the lymphatic line or there is a line that goes actually straight from your solar plexus to your voice, and those are connected in emotion, right, and how we express. And so, if you think about what causes someone to suppress those things, it's trauma, right? It's it are pieces of our experience on this planet that we wish not to think about, we wish not to feel, we wish not to experience ever again. And the truth is that there is much trauma in our lineages, right? There is much trauma in our human history. And the gift I find that is here and present and ready to truly be unlocked and unleashed and untethered and released is the fact that there are so many more people that are awake to this reality and no longer wishing to push or censor or keep imprisoned these memories, these emotions, these energies that have literally been passed down. I mean, scientifically, I know that we actually absorb from our parents everything that's come before, right? We're literally just, it doesn't mean that that has to repeat, but it does mean that it has to go somewhere. So just as a wave moves, right? If a wave in the ocean's moving, it's constantly moving. It never stops. It never ends. It's always there. And so, and if the wave has gotten out of sync, right, we have the ability to move it back into its natural state, and it's more flowing, um, attuned line. And so if we can allow for those pieces to be released, I mean, even I can sense a lot of the time in the world and in society what is missing, and it's really this like just like
Let
screaming.
it go. Yeah.
It's screaming. I mean, and one thinks, when's the last time you've screamed? I mean, truly, truly screamed, just like, yeah,
Yeah.
and this is missing. This is missing. There are, and again, going back to, ancient societies, right? Um, our tribal ancestors, this was a part of their natural living. It was a part of how they communicated. It was a part of their deep instinct to release and communicate and defend and fight and mourn or cry or be in this very natural releasing state. So nothing is permanent. It's always moving. And to me, that is why there are so many back problems. There are so many problems with any disease from this area here and up and down. This is why people have ulcers, stomach problems, intestinal, digestional issues, you name it. Anything from that area up has to do with these energies and these memories, even some that we don't even know that we're carrying around. And so for me, voicing it, embodying it, dancing, moving, getting this sense of whether you are owning what's there or owning that it has been there and are releasing it, to me is the beginning of a huger piece of freedom.
And I'm so happy that right now with science we finally can give it a name, and we can really reveal that these pieces of somebody else's information that's stuck in our DNA, that's stuck in our gene memory and meme memory, that's just huge. And that takes us to another conversation. But being back on track, I would like to ask you about the process of coaching. Have you been experiencing to combine therapies together, maybe sound healing with something else? So certainly you do coaching and voice and sound healing. Were there something else that you were combining together with these therapies?
So I'm not one to need to get degrees to integrate therapies into my practice. So I will never come necessarily, I shouldn't say never, but I don't come to the table with naming degrees in psychology or sociology or what have you. What I will say is I've spent 25 plus years in my own self-discovery, in my own healing, in my own trauma recovery, in my own, addictive, uh, recovery that have completely translated into the work I then do with my clients. So, in my own process of going deeper and deeper in terms of unlocking my own inside um, prisms of, soul directing movement, I have also been able to adhere those and pass those along to those I work with, and so that's anywhere from energy healing to tapping to a vision, realignment of where one can be taken on a journey by my voice, so almost like a vision quest. That's also where sound healing and sound medicine come in to be able to help people even orally reorganize certain things in their bodies and in their mental states. And I also am a big proponent of movement. I was a dancer for many, many years. And given that I perform still, I'm very much tied into movement in my life in general, and very much integrate that for all of my clients. That is essential. If people are just sitting on a couch all day trying to meditate their way into a different place, I find it's not going to be as powerful as moving through an experience in the body. And again, all the work that I have placed in my own life, I directly channel into those that I work with. And so for me, that goes for ancient practices with amazing shamans that I've worked with all over the world, to Native American traditions and practices, to a variety of ceremonies that I also invite my clients to be a part of. And again, these are traditions that are passed along just as the same as I learned how to be an opera singer. I may have gotten a degree, but I learned the tradition from lineages passed down that were taught orally. And so that to me is really the tradition that I bring forth in my work. Is uh, all my clients are experiencing the accumulation of all the work that I've done for myself, for my soul, for my life, in order to bring it forth into theirs.
And that certainly brings me to a very related question. What is the activities that your client needs to do during the session to get the best from the process? So you mentioned that you facilitate them to really move their body, so the energy, and I totally know that from the acting process, where you start working on the voice, but also you start working on your body, and you basically all along the course you don't allow yourself to stop, because these very powerful energies that you start to put in the engine they have to be released all the time. I've
Yeah.
been witnessing myself so many cases where people just start to break bones or just sudden accidents. So it's I know how important is that.
Yeah. And again, it really does depend on where each person's at, right? So some occasions for my clients, it is not the time to move. It's actually the time to be still, based off of the work that they've done in between sessions. That being said, whenever there is a highly triggering emotion or highly triggering blockage in someone's body, it is essential that one moves and one screams and one gets in a place of, just kind of erraticizing or eradicating whatever is inside their bones to move. And this is also important because it becomes a tool for each of my clients to go out in the world and be able to do this out in their day to day, whether they're, hiking in the woods, or they're in the privacy of their own home, or they're, taking some sort of movement class, or they're in a community that is promoting motion. but more importantly, for them to have more of a access of to a language of how their body is speaking to them, because that is directly tied into how they're then speaking, right? How they're then voicing and conveying themselves as a person, as a soul, as an entity, as someone who is here to really live in their life purpose, like their dharmatic path. If they're in alignment with their body, if they have a relationship with this, oh, excuse me, with, with the apologies, if they're really more in alignment with their physical suit. Yeah, because this is just one layer of, a huge energetic uh formation. And so that being said, in terms of what is required for them in a session, for me is presence, willingness, and vulnerability. It's really, really difficult to work with anyone who is blocked or defended or not really open to diving into their own, pieces of themselves. I'm really only a conduit to help them get there. It's the old adage of you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. So this vulnerability of willingness and presence and stillness allows for people to again align themselves with the work that we're doing together, as opposed to me being more of a directive and saying, like, from an outward perspective, you're not doing this right. It's really again a collaboration of, this is what I'm seeing, here's where you want to stretch, this is going to make you feel uncomfortable, but based upon where you're looking to go, this is how you're going to allow for yourself to lean in and drop in more into how to actually get there faster than resisting the winds. I always use analogies. So it's literally like sailing, like you're either sailing into the wind or you're not. Sometimes it can feel really scary to sail into the wind because your boat can like flip all the way over, but you never really sink, right? You never really fall over. You just stretch yourself to the edge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Giving yourself this buffer that is actually increasing every time more and more and more.
Yeah.
And who are your clients? Indeed.
Ooh, my clients come from all walks of life. I'm so fortunate, based on the fact that I have a wide span of people that I have connections with because I travel and because the community that I flow in brings all people from all walks of life. So I have entrepreneurs, CEOs, people in marketing, real estate. Um, I have mothers, I have fathers, I have people that are, kind of lost, even in a sense where they don't have stuff figured out, but they know that their purpose is one of a big mission. I would say unequivocally, all my clients understand that they have a big mission and purpose in their lives and in the lives of others. And they want to make sure that they are utilizing the time that they have at the present moment to best lean into that and sit into their seat. I always like to call it sitting in the seat of your soul. So I feel very fortunate to work with both women and men. Initially, I was only working with women, but I found that men actually are very much in need of this work as well. And so, I can't say that I have only one particular type of person. They come from all walks of life. What I would say is that people are seeking. So they're on the journey to seeking more, not only into their own soul, but into their role in their life, as well as how that's going to be actually going out and impacting others. So they know that there's a deeper, greater mission that they either are not quite aligned with yet, or that they just need a piece to allow themselves to amplify it even more than where they are right now.
Hmm. How beautiful. And Maeve, I imagine they come from all over the world, right? From all different countries.
Yeah, yeah. I think the furthest has been Australia. So, I've been fortunate enough to have communities that have connected me with people internationally, because I too have mentorships. I too have a coach, or I've had many coaches. I shouldn't even say one. which have, brought me to different communities, have brought me to, different locations around the world. And it does become smaller as time goes on. Just like you and I have met, we're across the world from each other, and there really isn't any lines or barriers based on like-minded souls that are on the path.
So true, so true. And that's also how we're connected with Maeve and WeVoice, where we are impacting indeed humanity to tap to the full potential of your health, of your mind, of your human connectedness, of your performance, of your creativity, and simply of you being the best version of yourself. There is nobody else whom you should follow. Just fully unpack yourself. And
Yeah.
maybe you already mentioned about your mentors and about your coaches. If you were to give a couple of people who really inspired you on your way, who were your mentors? Who would that be?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, that's a good one. Uh, well, first and foremost, definitely my voice teacher. I've been with him for almost 15 years, and the really intimate relationship that you have with a mentor, particularly in music, is so intimate. It's so genuine and vulnerable, and one of deep respect and and honoring, that you learn that it's about passing on to the next generation what you have gathered. And he has taught me that in spades. And really, I would say it was a huge influence for me becoming a coach. I teach a little bit here and there of the voice, but I coach more based on understanding where my kind of wheelhouse of power is best placed. But I've learned that it's this longevity of teacher mentee relationship or mentor mentee relationship that can, uncover and unravel such a long line of amazing uh, work and specialization within just the consistency of having somebody see you go over, see you go through different renditions of how you're trying to find your way. In addition, there is a woman that I worked with in New York. She was an energy EMDR specialist, working with deep trauma. And I also have worked with her for about 15 years. So these two were very much tied together. I still consider her one of my spirit team members, and someone I call upon, and have referred many, many people to. And she is one of no judgment, and I can not talk to her for 2 years or a year and call her up, and she'll be right there with me on the path. So somebody who is completely unconditional in their work with me has made me have a sense of complete anchorship in where I am, because I always know that I have someone that's there willing to walk with me at any part of the path.
Beautiful. This connectedness is extremely important because that's affinity that both are extremely need to grow, both sides. And before we wrap up, I would like to ask you, if you were to give just one message to the voice community, what would it be?
I love that. I was going to say that anyway, so I'm glad you asked.
Floor is
I
yours.
just, it's really, 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 really important for everyone to know that you're important. It doesn't matter how influential you seem to believe or think you are, but you matter. Your voice matters. Your mission matters. Your presence matters. So much of the time we can get wrapped up in this place where we think we don't have enough friends or followers or community or a big enough business or a big enough bank account, whatever excuse or rationalization that we give to ourselves. It's all a lie. You matter. Even if you affect one person, you are rippling an effect of a wave that will ricochet out and very likely affect thousands. Never underestimate the power of your vibration, of your reverberation on this planet. It matters. You matter. So go do you, be you, live in you to the fullest that you believe is possible. And then go a little bit further and then find more people to amplify you, to support you, to hold you, to lift you into the greatest area that you really are destined to be in.
Oh my God, how beautifully said. I'm not sure if somebody could verbalize it better. A word mix. I've connected with that personally so much. And I do believe that that connect very many people.
Mm.
Maeve. And if somebody wants, and I'm sure very many people want to work with you, how do they find you?
Absolutely. So all inquiries can go through my website, divinevoicetransformation.com. And you can reach out to my team there. We'll send you some information about how to work with me and we'll be in touch. And I also encourage people to check out my podcast, Voice It Out podcast, which will definitely give you more of an idea about my work and the work I continue to do around the globe. But I'm really looking forward to connecting with anyone who wishes to do so.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here, for shining in your wisdom, for shining in your transformational knowledge. I appreciate you tremendously, Maeve. And with this, we'll be wrapping up.